Hello, everyone. So my name is Vasilis. A lot of you know me because we're working here. A lot of you don't know me. You'll learn me from today. So we decided to start this whole thing with maths, and the topic would be about communication. So the whole idea was that let's have as a first topic the whole communication thing, because what's happening right now is communicating, and we'll need to explain it a little bit better according what it is. So the whole idea is that people believe that the whole aspect of communication is just talking to each other, which I would say is the worst assumption that someone can say. So there's a whole, you have to forgive my English if I take some time. So there's a whole, the percentages of communication come as follows. 55% on the communication that matters is body language. 38% is your voice tonality and the way that you say or show a message. And the actual thing is that 7% is the actual message. And I can show to you very easily that these numbers are true by just giving you a simple example. So if I'm going to say you that είσαι ο χειρότερος άνθρωπος που έχω γνωρίσει και εσύ θεωρώ ότι νομίζω δεν κάνεις αυτή τη δουλειά. Do you think I said something good or something bad?
We know it sounded bad. It sounded good.
It sounded good. If I say that είστε η χειρότερη εταιρεία στην οποία θα μπορούσα να έχω δουλέψει ποτέ. I mean, this sounds awesome, right? But right now I'm telling you in Greek that you're the worst company that I could ever work. So the thing is that if I give you this example and show you that what I'm saying doesn't matter, but the thing that matters is the way that I'm saying it and how I'm going to present it to you is what makes the whole difference. So how do we create an effective communication and how we can use some quick tips and tricks in order to understand and identify how people like to present messages to them and what's the most efficient way. Rule number one is that we need to have rapport with the guy or the girl who we need to pass a message. What do we mean by rapport? If I just come towards you because I have no idea who you are, I'm sorry, and say, oh, you know what, I need help on this, this, and this. You're, sorry, dude, I don't know you. Why should I help you? Maybe if you tell me who you are or explain why you need my help, then maybe I can help you. If I go to Dennis, which we're working together for some time, and say, hey, I need your help on this, he's sure, let's do this. The reason that this is happening is because me and Dennis have already created some rapport through our workspace and our workplace. So when we need to create rapport with someone who we don't know, let's say that I'm entering a room here. And at first, I'm a little bit shy because I know no one. So people are used to get attracted to what is similar to them. So the guy with the glasses and sorry, but with the same haircut with me would be the guy that say, oh, he reminds me of myself. We have the same haircut. Maybe we should find a shared topic. So this is the only person in the room that I would feel the most close to. If you were Greek, I would come to, and I hear you speak Greek, I would come towards you because we have a meeting point there. So people usually create rapport and try to create rapport when they find something that reminds themselves to the other person. And they believe that you look alike me, I look alike you, so we always have something to share and let's have a starting topic, whether it's our hair, whether it's our language, whether it's our clothes or everything. But there are times where you don't have rapport. Let's say I have to always communicate, I have to say something to you and we have to, I need you on something and I need to ask you about something. I cannot just come and ask you directly. If, let's say, we are in a workplace and I'm your manager, you are my manager, you have to help me whether you like it or not. But if I just need to communicate effectively with you and I need to create some rapport, there are some tips and tricks on how you do that in people who you don't know or you don't have, like, say, an effective communication already. So the first thing is that we need to start listening. What do I mean by listening? People think that listening is only listening with your ears. Like Paul said one day, you have one mouth and 2 years because you need to listen twice as much as you speak, which was not Paul saying, but it's a well-known saying. So the idea of listening is that there are 4 types of listening out there. People think that listening is just you speak and I listen, which is a false assumption. There are 4 types of listening, which are the following. The first one is that you talk to me and I don't listen to you at all. You just talk to me and I just know that I'm thinking what I had yesterday or what am I going to do afterwards. So usually it's the thing that when I say, oh, hi, nice to meet you, I'm Vasilis, I'm Ferrugia. And after a minute I say, okay, what's your name? You just told me, but I never listened because I was just thinking to give you my name and then go away. And this is the most common type of listening that's happening in everyday communication. The second type of listening is when someone says something to you and you're creating, you're finding similar events in your head. If you start talking to me about the presentation, I'm saying, yeah, I did a presentation then and back there. If you start talking to me about biking, yeah, I was biking yesterday. So you give me a trigger and I create some inner thoughts in my head about something similar that I did, and I stop listening to you after a part. The third type of listening, which is the worst type of listening, is you talk to me and I wait to answer to you, or I always interrupt you. So you say something to me, yeah, this is what I'm going to say to him, and I'm going to be over him on top. So are you done? Now this, and this. So this is like the thing that everyone should stop doing, because a lot of people all the time pretend to listen, but they just wait for their turn in order to say or prove their point. And the fourth type of listening, which is the one that we all should do, is what I mean by active listening. So active listening is actually listening, and not just listening with your ears, but listening with your eyes and listening with your feelings, if I can make it a thing, which means that I have to be there, observe the way that you talk, the message that you're saying to me, and the way that you're saying your message. If I say to you, I like you very much, yeah. I mean, if you don't look at me, you'll maybe just hear the message and say, yeah, this guy likes me. But if someone sees that, I mean, he's not presenting it, his body language is, he's leaning away from here, his voice has a little bit of irony in there. So if you actually actively listen to someone, you have to observe everything. And everything is body language, as we said, 55%, your voice tonality and the way that you present a message, and the actual message, which, as we said, doesn't really matter. And the reason because the actual message doesn't really matter is because people most of the time translate the message in their heads according to what were the other triggers on the subconscious level. What do I mean? If, like I said, yeah, Mads, you're the best boss ever. So in your head, you're saying that this dude, the way that he did it means that he dislikes me, and there's an irony in his words. If I say, Mads, you're the best boss ever, you're like, yes, I am, and I could be better than that. So in both occasions, you just heard the same message, but in your head, you interpreted it into something different. The one was positive, the other was negative. And the thing that changed the meaning of the message was the way that I presented the message to you and my body language on presenting the message to you. So some of the tips and tricks on body language is whenever you want to present something positive to someone, you keep your body language always open. I cannot come and say, I need your help. Please help me on this. This isn't working. Whenever you want something, you always have to present your chest, keep your body like this, and can you please help me on this? And usually the palms up thing is something that shows that, you know what, it comes from the ancient ages that I don't hold any weapons. So can you please help me with this? I'm totally open to you and I'm presenting you my heart, which means that I'm vulnerable enough. So I'm not afraid that you're going to hurt me, so I need your help. Usually when you want to go towards someone and ask for something, you always need to have a positive type of body language. If you go like, hey, you know what? I think I'll need you here. Something's wrong with this guy. And twice the times, I just ask you for the same thing. So one good tip is that always keep your body language like like this whenever you want to do something. Or if you want to avoid someone, let's say you're coming towards me and say, it's 4:30. Oh, I need your help with this. And I know this is going to take me 30 minutes. And I'm, yeah, please tell me. And you're, can you help me with this? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Give me 5 minutes or maybe tomorrow. So I'm leaning away from you, meaning that I don't want to be towards you. I'm feeling exposed towards you. So I'm just trying to avoid you. So if let's say you're in a conversation which is not working for you and you want to leave, you can always like lean your hands, turn your body the other way. And if someone is talking to you directly and you don't give them back the triggers that they expect to, then you can always break the rapport and leave from this conversation or this awkward thing. So how we can, now I'm going to give you some good tips on how you can identify the way that people like to be communicated to. So there are what we're saying, the representational systems, which are the way that people use to understand the world around them. These are people who understand the world visually through images. People understand the world auditorily through sounds, kinesthetically through feelings. And there are two other categories which are rare out there, which is the olfactory, which is through smells, and the gustatory, which is through taste. These final two, you can find it through cooks and through people who do some work which has to do a lot with smells and taste. So it's the guy that says, oh, the smell reminds me when I was back in France. So they can relate smells or tastes with what's happening in their lives. So usually people fall into three categories: the visually, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. According to the whole communicational aspect, there's this thing that we call the communicational preferences. So out there, everyone has a specific preference that they would like the information to be presented towards them. I'm going to use some real examples while explaining the three categories and how you can identify this. Let's start with auditory. So auditory people are the people who like the information to be presented towards them through sound. There are people who usually talk to themselves when they say, okay, I have to do this and do this and do this, because they need to listen themselves and the information coming towards their ears. They're usually a little bit of monotone, and the way that they talk is really clear. And they're using phrases like, can you hear me speaking to you? Or if, let's say, I speak to Mads and Mads is on his computer and I say to Mads, hey, I'm talking to you, and I'm listening, because Mads is a highly auditory person and he prefers the word coming through sounds. So these are the guys or girls who, as I said, speak clearly, speak to themselves, and the way that they use the words is like, I can hear you, or if you explain something to me, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear my point? Or using the word sounds or hearing. And as I told you, if you start actively listening from the way that they're using, even when Mads is writing an email to me, he says, how does this sound to you? It doesn't sound, because I'm just reading a message. But in Mads' head, this should sound somehow, because at the time that Mads is writing the email, he's repeating the words to himself. So this sounds somehow to him, and he believes that this should sound somehow to me. So that's his question. How does this sound to you? So for me, yeah, Mads is an auditory person. So whenever I have to talk with Mads, I need to talk to him with the way that he prefers. So I'm using words with, can you hear my message? This is how it sounds to me. So Mads now starts feeling some rapport towards me, because he thinks that I understand the way that he talks and he understands the way that I talk. So this gets us to the second category, which is the visual guys. If I start telling to Mads, I'm speaking to you, and he says, yeah, he's not looking at me. And he says, yeah, I can hear you. And I say, yeah, but you're not looking at me. This is an obvious thing that I'm more into images. I'm going to use my manager here. He's not here, but Michael is a highly visual guy. And actually, Claudia is a highly visual guy because whenever I talk with Claudia, she says, from this point of view, can you see my point? This point of view, this point of view. Mads is, how does this sound? While Claudia is this point of view. So if Claudia has a talk with Mads, they may gonna kill each other because she's going to see, how does this look to you? And Mads would reply, this doesn't sound right. And she would say that, yeah, but I'm not talking about how it sounds. How does it look to you? And Mads would say, hey, I can hear you, but you're not listening. So usually these types of miscommunication are the things that are happening between couples, between working environments. And this is like, you never tell me that you love me. Yeah, but I'm showing it to you. Yeah, but you never tell it to me. What else can I show it to you? And so usually this is when the fight starts. And the third category is people who understand the world through feelings. We find someone. You can be one. So people who understand the world through feelings are people who, this doesn't feel right. Can you feel me? I mean, I want this to make me feel okay. Yeah, I'm going to wear this shirt because I know it doesn't look okay, but it makes me feel really warm and feel really good. So if you go to a person who understands the world through feelings and say, can you see that what you're wearing? I mean, you came here with your slippers and you say, yeah, dude, but it feels good to me. Yeah, but it doesn't look right. And then the fight starts again. So how we can identify these types of people? As I said, the one thing is that from the way that they're using their language, like the sound of my voice, my point of view, or it's all about my feelings, which is good, by the way. It's not, I'm not using it as a bad reference. So there's a type of body language as well, which can help us identify. So as I said, some people who use sound as their preference, they speak loud. You can hear Matt speaking on the phone and rah, 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 because he has to talk loud. Other people has to hear him, and he has to hear himself as well outside of the. So this is totally normal. They're usually standing straight, speaking directly, and a little bit of monotone. When you have a highly visual person, there are two things. They usually look up. And the way that you look up is that your neurology is this way where if you want to imagine stuff, all the pictures are here. If I tell you, try to imagine what you did yesterday, you'll do something like, yeah, or you see, let's see. So this is something that everyone's, let's see. Why do we lean upwards when we say, let's see? The reason that we lean upwards is that because pictures are up here. People with highly visual preference, as now I'm going to use Michael, they tend to speak fast. And the reason that they tend to speak fast is because they see pictures in front of them. So they're speaking fast in order to, I want to reach out. I'm seeing this, this, and this, and this. Can you see this and this, this? And if we have someone who goes into the kinesthetic way, which they prefer to speak more softly and explain things according to, this makes me feel this way. And Thomas is a highly kinesthetic person as well, because every time Thomas explains something, his volume comes this way. He has to explain softly things, and he has to make us understand why this is working for what we need to do. But right now, Claudia is going to kill herself because I'm speaking so slow, and she got used to hear people talking, yeah, let's do this and do this. So Claudia with Michael can work fine. Claudia with Thomas can like kill themselves or kill each other, I don't know. And so usually this is the whole miscommunication aspect. But if you learn to understand, and I forgot I told visual guys look upwards, and the kinesthetic, as I told, slower voice, calmer voice tonality, and usually their movements comes towards here. So this, I can do this, I can do this, this is working. The reason is because feelings comes through this way, from your heart to your belly. And every time you want to express what you're feeling, you have to create some inner movements that this is making me feel like this, and this is going to do this. I felt a release of tension. Actually, I'm showing you what's happening. I'm releasing the tension from the inside. So if you start to, like I said, actively listening with your eyes and your ears and how the other person makes you feel, then you can understand that maths is auditory. So let's use this to my advantage. If I want to communicate with Mads, I'm start speaking to his language. I'm start speaking to his tempo. I'm start speaking to as loud as you want. If I want to communicate with Thomas, I have to be more subtle, more gentle, lower my voice and make him understand what I'm saying. So when he's giving back to me, I understand what he's saying. So there's some rapport here because he can relate to the way that I'm talking to him. I can relate to the way that I'm talking to him. I think I said the same thing. And if I had to talk to Claudia, we'll need to talk about emojis and blah, 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 blah. And then she says, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And everyone is, what? This doesn't make no sense because you're not highly visual. No, you're not. But as long as you know what's happening, you can identify, yeah, this is what's happening. So two visual guys are communicating, leave them be if I want to. So if I want to talk with them, I'll need to follow their pace. Or if they know what to do, they need to follow mine. So this brings us to the next part that I'm going to do, that the person who knows this type of information is the one who's doing all the pacing and leading. So as I said, if I want to create rapport, I want to have a direct communication with you, I know what to do, you don't know what I'm doing. So the thing is that slowly, if I start to mirror a little bit your body language, there's no need for me to, let's say, cross my legs. I just lean my head the way that you do it, like mirroring. And right now, you know what I'm doing, so you're just trying to do it. But if I keep talking, I can always change it back to you. And with some simple moves from the way that my head is, from the way that my hand is, you're starting feeling that, yeah, maybe he can understand what I know you're doing it right now on purpose, but this is the way it is. So as long as I know that I need to recalibrate myself in order to what you prefer, then it's that what we're saying, pacing and leading. So I'm giving the pace. So as long as I'm the same with you, then I start moving around. And if I see you moving around with me, this means that you're now following my lead. If I see you following my lead, this means that the rapport is already there. And now you're ready to listen what I have to tell to you. So you don't just go directly to people and say, oh, I need this, this, and this. I just need to first create some rapport by mirroring a little bit of your body language, mirroring a little bit of your tonality, mirroring a little bit the way that you prefer to hear the messages. And when I start moving around and on the subconsciously, you start moving around as well. Or if I start saying or doing things and you then agree with maybe things that you wouldn't agree otherwise, this means that now I have the lead. So I'm leading the whole conversation and I wouldn't say bring you where I want, but now you're ready to listen. And if I say, you know what, by the way, is it okay if you help me on this? Because it would be a great help if you provide this to me. You would do it so willingly, and you would believe that it was my choice. I chose to help you, but you have no idea. So the thing is that there are two aspects on the same coin. If this is the good side and there is the bad side. A lot of people say that, if we have this knowledge, we can manipulate people and play with stuff around. So I would say no. If you go towards someone who has this type of knowledge, or if you just try and see, he's sitting this way. Am I mirroring you? If people understand that you're trying to do something on purpose and you have bad intentions, believe me, this will show up to them. And by using show, this means that right now I'm into a visual mode. One thing that we all should know is that every time I give this type of presentation, people always try to identify themselves. Oh, so am I visual? Am I kinesthetic? Am I auditory? You're not anything. As I said, there are the representational systems and there are the communicational preferences, which means that at times in our lives, we have some specific preference. Right now, I'm playing with all the types of preferences because the audience has all the types of preferences. So I had to calibrate myself to everyone. If I would say that I prefer to be on the visual side, I'm going to talk only with visual stuff and I don't care about anyone else, then it's only about me and it's not about you. So as I said, You can say that I'm highly visual, so I don't communicate with no one. Sorry, this is who I am. No, you're not. This is what you prefer to be at certain specific times of your day, of your life, or of everything. Everyone can be everything. Everyone can choose anything if this is what you want to do and if this is the way that you want to communicate with someone. You cannot say that I cannot work with Mads because I'm kinesthetic and he's auditory, so sorry, not sorry. You just have to say, I'm going to try his way. Maybe he's going to try my way if we both have the same knowledge, and then find the sweet spot and then make this happen. And this is how you usually solve problems in actual relationships. You need to explain and you need to try to see the other person's perspective or hear what the other person is talking to you. So don't fall into the trap of I am this, you're not this. You're choosing to act like this because this is what you prefer. It's nice sometimes to step out of your comfort zone and then try something else and see what happens. So I'm going to give you the final tip, which is, and I'm going to leave some time for questions. The final tip is a little bit of mind blowing that everyone is, oh, I never knew that. There is one more trick in order to identify how people are accessing information in their heads. So if you ask me, what did you do last night? Maybe I'll do, let's see, as I told you. There's a pattern that most right-handed people, but this isn't like a golden rule, whenever they want to remember something, they're looking up to their left. You're seeing up to the right, but it's from your perspective, it's someone who's looking up to the left. If you ask me that, if I ask you, and you don't force yourself, where were you last night? You maybe do this very subtle, but right now you're trying not to look up. If I ask a visual person like Claudia now, which is talking to herself, because if you look down here, you're talking to yourself. This is the next one. If I ask her, can you make an image of yourself with hair like mine? Usually people look up the other way. So usually when we look this way, we're creating images which are not there. You can try it with friends, like an exercise, by asking questions. Okay, what color is your front door? And trying to provoke someone to have some visual information that there is there and some visual information that there is not there. Usually, most right-handed look up here in order to see things that they remember, and up here in order to see things that they're not there. The same thing goes with sounds. If I say, what's the last song you heard yesterday? Maybe you do this and this. So auditory people look here when they try to remember sound and look here when they try to create sounds. Can you create yourself the sound of scratching nails on the whiteboard? You'll do this, and this will provoke a feeling as well. If you see someone, which at times we all see, be like this, when we usually look down here, we're talking to ourselves. So you may be seeing people do, so you're talking to me and yeah, this is working, this may not. So usually when you look down here, it's self-talk. And when you look the other way is when you need to have access to your feelings. So how did you felt when your first child was born? And so, yeah, this felt great. And you can see people lighting up. They're looking down here, and because they have access to a feeling, if it's good, you can see them light up. If it's bad, you can see them, you know. This isn't like a rule of thumb that every right-handed person works this way, but if someone works the other way, if let's say I ask you something, can you remember a thing, and you look this way, maybe everything is going reversed. So if someone remembers images by looking here, then they create an image by looking there. They remember sounds by looking here, create sounds looking there, self-talk here, and then access to feelings down there. It's always a good play around, which I'm giving to people, like there are some questions which you can provoke and see how they access information. And maybe you can see a combination of that. So if you ask me like, because I have highly visual triggers, like how did you felt when you first jump off a plane? So I would say, so what I did now, I first created the image, I've seen myself jumping off the plane, and then I come down here and have access to the way that I felt. So you may see people do like combination. It needs some practice in order to identify what they're doing at the time, but it's like I'm watching the image and then I'm accessing the feeling. Maybe I can hear the sound of the plane and then accessing the feeling again. So it was a funny thing when this was discovered, because people all the time do this. And even when from the time when we were back in school and the teacher asked something to a kid and say, the answer is not up there. Why are you looking at the ceiling? The truth is that the answer is up there and the kid is just trying to see it and obtain the answer somewhere in an image. But the teacher has no idea what the kid is doing. And no, don't look up, look me straight in the eyes. And so when you have a child totally blank, then they're like, okay, I have no idea what I'm looking at, and I have no idea where the answer is. Because we have 10 minutes, I won't dig more into that. There's a lot if you want to dig more, but this is like a high-end thing. If we need to keep some mental notes here, and this is why I got asked, do you need to have a presentation? Do you need to have a board or things to project what you're saying? The reason that I don't use boards when I do presentations is that if I had a board here, all your eyes would be here, and I would force you to visually access everything that I'm saying to you. I didn't want to do that because there aren't only highly visual people who have access to information while they're looking at stuff. The thing is that you have to experience everything according to the way it sounds, the way it looks, the way it makes you feel. So if we need to keep some things from this whole workshop, is that always try to identify the preference of the other person if you want to create rapport. Try to make yourself communicate on the way that they prefer, not the way that you prefer, but they don't understand. You don't understand. No, you don't understand, because now you have the knowledge and you know that I should do this in order for the other person to understand, but I decide not to do it because I'm so selfish and I think that everyone should act the way that I'm acting, which is wrong. And I'm saying that it's wrong because as long as you know what to do, then it's your responsibility to do it. If I know that you have no idea what I'm talking about because you have no access to this knowledge, but I have, it's my responsibility to change what I'm doing in order to make you understand. And I don't expect, and please never assume anything that she should know that. You should know this. I mean, I showed it to him and he never responded. Always try to think that you show it to him maybe because this is the way that you prefer to communicate to him or her. Was this the way that he or she preferred to communicate with you? And always ask this on your head. So try to identify, like we said, always use your body language according to the way that you present the message to someone. Try to be open and positive towards someone who wants you to be open and positive to you. You can always lean back and move if you want to push someone back. And always, always, please keep in mind the way that you say a message. I'm going to give you a final example, like, you're awesome. Or, you're awesome. Or, you're awesome. So words can have a dynamic, you're awesome. Even by the way that you tell them, the way that you use them, and if you add a little bit of body language, then you can emphasize your point. I think we have 7 minutes for questions from here or from there through Matt. That's it from me. And a big thank you to Karina for showing up today because it was her day off, so I really appreciate it. No, you're.
I think we have I think Michael is typing a question in.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second. He's not typing that fast.
And as an exercise to you, if you need or want to ask anything more on this, I expect you to come directly to me and talk to me on this. Because as we said, this is about communicating, not just presenting stuff. So it would be nice that if you're interested, if you want to learn more, if you want to ask more, if you have questions, choose your medium. whatever is working for you. If you want to just send me an email, if you want to Slack me or text me, but I would prefer to come directly and task me directly, because this usually drops the barrier of people who are afraid to step up. And like we said with Mads, this thing is a call of action for people who want to share some type of knowledge. And it's mostly not telling about what I did, but giving you things that you can use in your everyday life, whether it's business or personal. So if you need to learn anything more, you can come directly through me. I'm sitting over there.
Mikkel says great presentation. He likes initiative, so thank you to you. And I think Juliana is typing.
Yeah.
Most people are using 2 fingers, I think. They don't type that fast. Maybe we should have a typing course.
Typing course, yeah.
I would maybe ask.
Yeah.
Regarding the right hand and left hand.
So the question was that if the eye accessing cues make any difference if you're right-handed or left-handed. Studies shown that most right-handed access the information the way that I showed you. That here, remembering pictures, they're creating pictures. This is like percentages, but nothing is like a rule of thumb. Usually left-handed go the opposite, but I've seen it working the other way. I've seen right-handed work the other way. So usually in order to identify, you have to ask some questions in order to calibrate and understand. So if I'm giving you questions which you should know, and I see you all the time looking up there, meaning that this is the way that your mind is working.
Isn't it more about like how your brain is kind of divided part? Like the left part is more cognitive and the right part is like more creative. So that's why actually when you're looking on the right side where it's like creative, then there's a reason why you're looking on the right side, because there's
I have no idea to tell you what's the reason why this is working this way.
Okay.
The thing is that as long as it's working this way and you have access to this, feel free to use it. So it goes into more deeper neurology on how it's working this way, which is outside of my expertise.
Juliana, first of all, to repeat when there's questions.
Yeah.
Juliana is asking, do you have any tips how to behave in situations where people don't listen to each other and just talk around each other's point?
Yeah, so these people, as I thought, so the question was how to behave in a situation when people are not listening to each other and they just trying to prove a point. So this is like I said, the category where people just expect listening in order to prove a point. So the thing is that if this is happening on a meeting where you have no access to other cues and you're just listening to people, it's a little bit hard because you cannot play with body language, you cannot play with body tonality, you cannot do a lot of stuff. The best thing you can do, and the best thing that is working on this thing, is silence. So whenever someone is talking and they expect from me to say something, if they expect from me to counter that, and I don't give them the happiness of countering, and I just keep silent, and then they're going to ask me, what's your opinion on that? And then they're ready to listen. Because if you fall into their trap and you just try to counter answer to what they're saying, then they wait for it and then counter answer to what you're saying, then it's an endless loop. So if they attack you and you just stay there, try to be as calm as you can, don't respond, but they expect from you to respond, and wait for them to ask you, what's your opinion on that? Then they're ready to listen.
But the question is, what if you are in a meeting as a third person with 2 people that are not listening to each other?
So is your job to actually be the in-between?
I don't know.
So if it is, you should take the lead, as I said, but as I said on a meeting, if it's an online meeting, it can be a little bit difficult because you cannot force body language more authoritative. Like, you know what, I'm the product owner, I'm the manager, both of you have to stop and we have to fix this right now. If your role is just to be there in the same spot as them and they want to kill each other, let them be. I mean, is it expected from you to stop this? If it is expected to you and it's your role to stop it, then you should do something about it. If it's not, and you just want to fix things up, you should know that people want to help themselves. You should help people only if they want to be helped. You cannot go to people and say, you're arguing, you should stop. They don't care, they want to argue. So when I was younger and I was always trying to help people with my knowledge. So you're doing this wrong, let me help you with this, I have knowledge. And everyone said, no, I'm not doing anything wrong. And I was, dude, I can see you're hurting yourself. Why don't you listen? And they were, no, I'm fine. Because the thing is that if they actually believe that they were fine, actually, the thing is that if they could understand that they're hurting themselves, then they would be in a state that they would seek for help. But they will actually believe that they're doing fine, even if they're hurting themselves. So if two people are not willing to listen to you, and it's not your job to stop them fighting, then let them be. You cannot save everyone. That's my saying. You can save only the people who want to be saved.
Cool.
Yeah.
No more questions yet.
So I think we have 1 more minute. If that's all.
I don't have a question, but just a comment. Firstly, thanks. I think it's been very insightful. But this is something that I learned along the way. So, and I learned the hard way and the good way. Is that the brain has various parts. So social, emotional, analytical, right? So some people are more analytical and less social. Some people are more emotional and less analytical. So if I'm approaching a person for me to ask help or offer something, I in advance need to understand what kind of person that is. If that person is analytical, then it's no point for me to go and talk about feelings, because that person is expecting certain small things. And that's where I think we go wrong. That we communicate analytically to a social person, we communicate socially to a logical person, right? And we communicate analytically to an emotional person, because emotional person really wants you to first talk about themselves, break the ice and blah, blah, blah. So I think when we approach a person, whether it's in our personal life or professional life, to either offer help or take help, we need to understand first, before walking into that person, what kind of person that is.
Actually, this is the summary of everything.
Yes.
So, and it's a valid point. You're just using different words, but it's the exact same thing. You need to understand what you prefer in order for me to give you that. And as long as I know how to understand what you prefer, then it's my responsibility to give you that. If I'm too ego and say that, no, she should understand me, then I'm not the right person to offer help. That's what I believe. But if you can drop your ego off and say, yeah, since I know that this is the way that he prefers or she, then let's do it. Because the end goal is to finally be able to communicate with each other.